Ladies and gentlemen, we would now be beginning with our first and the most exciting panel discussion, which is lined up today. So we'll be starting off with the session 1 on the Indian housing sector emerging stronger post-pandemic, the resurgence saga. May I first introduce the session moderator, Mr. Anuj Puri, Chairman CI Real Estate Knowledge Session and Chairman Anarock Group, with over 30 years of experience in India and global real estate markets, and as trusted advisors to developers, occupiers, and investors. Anuj sir has set Anarock in 2017, which is now India's leading independent real estate service company. Now, may I introduce our session speakers, Mr. B. Santanam, the CEO, Asia Pacific and India, Chairman, St. Gobain, India. An alumnus of IIT Madras and IIM Ahmedabad, Mr. Santanam started his career as a management trainee in Grindwall Norton, a St. Gobain group company. And over more than 2 decades, Mr. Santanam was instrumental in the group's investment of over 750 million in flat glass to create a pan-India manufacturing footprint. Mr. Harsh Neotia, the chairman of Ambuja Neotia Group, an alumnus of Harvard and the chairman of Ambuja Neotia Group that operates through several companies covering the entire spectrum of the real estate industry, including
Asim?
Some difficulty.
I think he's sort of gone on freeze.
There was some problem with the...
No.
Yeah. Real estate at the age of 29, starting with the first project, Mr. M.R. Jayashankar, who is the CMD of the Brigade Group. And he is the first project of Brigade Towers in Bangalore in 1986. And the Brigade Group, under his fine leadership, has so far completed more than 70 million square feet in South Indian cities. Mr. Ravi Agarwal, the co-founder and MD of Signature Global Group. A chartered accountant by profession, Mr. Ravi Agarwal has been playing a prominent role in his group's success. A young, dynamic, and multi-talented personality, Mr. Agarwal possesses an excellent communication and interpersonal agility and has been a great guiding force behind his team's repetitive success. Mr. Murli M., the CMD of Shriram Properties, an alumnus of Harvard Business School. He's a first-generation entrepreneur and the founder of property development arm of USD 10 billion plus business conglomerate Shriram Group, Chennai, India. And finally, Mr. Vipul Rungta, the MD and CEO of HDFC Capital Advisors Limited. Mr. Rungta currently manages the largest residential private equity fund in India with AUM and excess of USD 1 billion. The fund is primarily focused on providing long-term equity and mezzanine capital for development of affordable and middle-class income housing in India. Welcome panelists and welcome moderators. With this, may I now request Anuj sir to kindly take over. Over to you, sir. Anuj sir, you're on mute.
It's an absolute delight to have this, esteemed panel with us. I'm very excited. We've got about 50 minutes to roll it through, and I'm going to quickly start. I'll start with Mr. Jayashankar. Today, Mr. Jayashankar, I'm actually in your city. Great. doing an internal review. And
normally I come to know when you're in Bangalore.
But my first question is, Mr. Jayashankar, this city seems to be the most robust and, it is the most resilient in India. So what is that characteristic of this city that makes it so resilient, even during the tough times?
Thank you, Anuj. I think in the last 6 months, we may not be the most resilient, or we may not have sold the maximum. It is only next only to Maharashtra, but primarily because we didn't enjoy the same kind of stamp duty relaxations as Maharashtra. And we are all envious of developers from Maharashtra from that angle. But see, the characteristic of Bangalore is it is largely dependent on IT sector. I mean, every city is dependent on, of the top 7 or 8 cities. IT contributes quite a bit for each of the things, but in Bangalore it contributes much more. If the Karnataka GDP is about 230, 240 billion dollars, probably one third is due to IT. And as far as resilience is concerned, see, in spite of the pandemic, whether the first wave or second wave, the professionals, be it in IT sector or be it in other industries, they were not affected financially. Most of them have received their salaries. On the other hand, I would say they've been benefited in the sense that while the salary is have been remained same, or in some cases have gone up, whereas their expenditure has substantially come down due to lack of avenue for expenditure during the last 18 to 20 months. And in addition, the need to save, probably pandemic would have given a scare to quite a few people. So they thought it is better to save and also use it for more real assets, which is real estate, unlike the stock market or anything. So and for all the reasons which you mentioned, whether to upgrade from smaller area to a larger area, to move from one house to a second house wherever people can afford. And if someone doesn't have a house, the first thing is to go buy a house. That is why even the millennials have started buying, you said. And in fact, that we were witnessing only in the years of 2006 or 2007, when millennials were buying. You get an appointment letter, and within 1 week you go to a developer's office and try and book something. And all said and done, say Bangalore, without hesitation, I can say it is quite cosmopolitan. People here are very friendly and welcoming others. And invariably, if someone comes, particularly the parents of an IT professional from Bihar, Uttar Pradesh, anywhere, if they come and see the weather and see the general safe situation, the first thing they will do is to coax the son, or they themselves will buy something. That is the reason today the local population, Kannadiga population in Bangalore is just about 20%. I think, and the rest is all people from outside Karnataka. That is one reason for resilience. And then there are several others, of course. One is the lack of capital investment in the last 18 to 20 months. With the result, ultimately money has to find a place. It is invariably moves from gold and stock market, real estate, and fixed deposits, etc. Now I think some of the stock market gains may also have come into real estate. Who knows? And with FD rates being so low, so people feel there is no point putting money in banks. Though their bank deposits also may be going up, still they feel it is better to have some solid asset. So these are some of the reasons, and I would say there are many. I will give time to others to speak.
Yeah. My second question to you only, Mr. Jaishankar, is that, in the developer fraternity, we've seen, there is fear, but there is unabated greed on the other side.
Yeah.
And I've always seen you, on the fear side, and yet you have done, so beautifully. So how have you controlled yourself from getting into the unabated greed and not cross the line, and always remain very cautionary, very sort of grounded, and very aware? I mean, even last time when I met up with you, I was like, would you come with me to Bombay? And you're like, no, I'm not getting onto that flight to Bombay. So what keeps you away from the greed?
No, I would say, and not fear. I may go towards the conservative side, and also what keeps me away from greed is probably my dad has taught me only one or two things. Well, one of them being, he says, when you do business, you do to the extent you can absorb the losses. If you are able to absorb the losses and still carry on with life or business, it is fine. like it is all or not. I'm not the type to have all or nothing.
Good point. Absolutely.
That is one. And secondly, India is such a large country, and there is no pan-Indian developer today. For that matter, there is no pan-country-specific developer anywhere in the world. You take Japan, USA, Britain, or anywhere. There is nothing like a pan-entire country developer. And
Yes.
each of the cities has huge potential. Whether it is, see, currently we are in about 6 cities, of which 3 are focus areas. I'm not saying I'll never enter, Mumbai or Pune, but at least in the immediate future, we have no desire. At some stage, who knows? I can't, foretell the future.
And what's prompted? Sorry, no, go ahead.
No, and as you said, we are still in an evolving situation as far as real estate is concerned. You gave the example of the Chinese developer. I would have said the same thing in my response. I met a Chinese developer, a number 2 maybe. You must have met the number 1. I met the number 2 developer of Chinese one, Wanki, developers few years back in Singapore. He said his quarterly sales is about 60,000 units in China, and which was at that point of time at the peak of Bangalore market. It was annual sales in Bangalore by all 400, 500 developers, big and small put together. So I always feel, India is a 2.6 trillion economy, and whereas China is today maybe a 14 trillion economy. And this statement of the Chinese developer was when China was a 9 trillion economy or $9 trillion economy. So that only shows the potential that the country has, since we have the same demographic population. Population is more or less same, and we are going to overtake China in a decade or so. So that being the case, once today our per capita income is just about $2,000, and once we reach a $5,000 or a $6,000, the disposable income in the Indian public is going to be very much substantially more. At that time, people are definitely going to invest in real estate and so many other aspects. So the economy is going to really zoom once we reach that critical figure of $5 to $6 billion trillion dollars, and maybe $5,000 to $6,000 per capita income.
My last quick question to you, Mr. Jaishankar, what's prompting your share price going up and up and up?
See, in spite of all the knowledge one has, no developer can give you the reason why the share price is going up. That is something which has surprised everybody. And, nobody would have thought of a 55 or 58,000 Sensex. Other than maybe Rakesh Jhunjhunwala, nobody would have thought of it, I suppose. But it is welcome. See, I'll also give you one other reason. People have been asking me. I'm not talking about just our share. Generally, Indian shares were valued based just on profitability. And that is the reason, say, I've been an observer and operator of stock market also for the last 30, 35 years. So the P ratios used to be 1:6, maybe 20 years back. Then it started slowly going up 1:12, 1:15, like that. Today, the average P ratios is maybe almost the 30, I suppose. So which was earlier based purely on profitability. Today, it is also based on the efforts taken by the developers. I wouldn't say developers, any industry person. Otherwise, why do you say loss-making companies, whether it is startups, don't mind naming, whether it is Zomato or anything, why is it being priced so high? It is primarily because the efforts and the ability to scale up is what is being appreciated and valued. And it is not that every person can scale up to that extent.
Yes.
Similarly, even for developers, where once if one has to reach a certain level of business, like the people in this panel and many others who are not in the panel. So it would have taken, blood and sweat of decades of, hard work. That I think is beginning to be appreciated. And particularly in this market, you know it better. There is the branded developers are getting more business, and maybe the one-time or two-time project developers are losing out. While the overall size of the market has come down, even in real estate, but the recognized developers are still able to keep their head above high, and for that matter, they're able to do much more business. These are some of my points.
Yeah, my thought is similar to yours, Mr. Jaishankar, that, whilst the market has shrunk, but disproportionately the good quality developers have increased their revenue.
So at last, a recognition to the effort is beginning to be given by the stock market. And apart from, of course, people will say SIP money and free money in the international market, quantitative easing by US, all those are all certainly the factors. The fact that there is no other opportunity for investment is the reason why so much of money is going in for SIPs, and ultimately they have to deploy the money. They can't keep it with themselves.
I'm going to come to the Dada of East India, Mr. Harsh Nuetia. Somebody that one loves to listen. As I've said it before as well, from economy to politics to religion to business. Business, not only real estate business, but business in general. So Harsh, sort of 2 or 3 quick questions. One, Harsh, did you expect that the bounce back of the residential market was going to be so quick after the first wave? Sorry, you're on mute, Harsh.
Thank you, Anuj, and thank you for this, for inviting me to this rather distinguished panel. No, when the first wave hit, I was actually a very worried man. I didn't know how it would pan out. And certainly the recovery that happened after the lockdown started opening up was certainly faster and better than I had imagined. So clearly we were prepared for a much longer haul and a much slower recovery. I think 2, 3 things triggered things. One, of course, is that suddenly people realized the importance of space and home in a much more significant manner. The second is the millennials who are kind of shying away from buying homes to rather being more nomadic, probably felt by this event that they need to at least have one home, and therefore the desire to put some of their investment in a home sort of increased. And the third, where some of us in this panel perhaps have benefited, as you said, is that the demand got bunched towards some developers who had a better track record. And as a result, I'm not quite sure if we do a sigma total of sales of all apartments, whether we would have done very well as a city or as a country. But some developers have really done very well. And there are some others who have really also had very great difficulty. So it's been a mixed bag, frankly, but certainly the recovery has been smarter than we expected.
And Harsha, you are in several sectors, including hospitality and retail. When do you think that the bounce back is going to come in those 2 sectors?
Well, I just wish I knew that answer, because the pain at the moment is quite significant. I think the retail is generally coming back slowly. In terms of footfall, we are still around 50-60% of what we were. But in terms of offtake from the shelves, we are about 70-75% in most of the stores. So that's not very bad, looking at the fact that people are still hesitating to be out, and looking at the fact that some amount of habit of online shopping has definitely come in. So I would think it is okay. It's not a great situation, but it's certainly, and then all of us have trimmed our costs. So I think in terms of profitability, we may not be far behind what we were earlier, because we've also rationalized and looked at efficiencies. On the hospitality front, again, the resorts have had a smart pickup. People are now wanting to, because they can't travel overseas. There is definitely a very big push towards luxury resorts, but city hotels continue to be a challenge. Travel is still not opened up fully. Business conferences are not yet happening. Marriages are much smaller. The big fat Indian wedding was a very big revenue generator, which is really not happening in any measure or any sort of comparable measure to what it used to be in 2019. So I think that's going to be a little bit of a long haul. I'm not quite sure whether this winter, which is a big season, will be normal. I don't think so, because people will be cautious, and even the governments will have some restrictions, I think. I hope not, but I hope this vaccination rolls out fast. But looking at it realistically, I think only we can look at a more normal year next year, not this year.
Harsh, there are a number of questions that I can ask you, and in priority, I want to ask you one. We have nearly 300 participants on this. Many are developers, many are stakeholders. What has been the mantra of your success? Not only in real estate, Harsh. I mean, you've had several very successful businesses that you've done. What has been the reason for that success?
Well, Anuj, success is a very elusive and at times very difficult to define. I don't think we have made that kind of success, if you take it in financial terms, like many other people. We've been able to do a few interesting projects. We've been able to get some goodwill. Most importantly, all of us who work in doing the stuff that we do, we enjoy what we do. And I think being happy, to me, is a very important measure of success. I'm sure we could have done more, and we could have made a better balance sheet than we have landed up making. But that didn't happen, maybe partly because maybe we were not that risk. We didn't take as much risk as we should have taken. Or maybe we had some inefficiencies somewhere that didn't get us there. But whatever it is, I'm not unhappy about that. I'm happy that we've been able to at least touch some lives and make some meaningful projects that people are enjoying. So that's the good thing.
I mean, last one, Harsh, is there a thought to move and expand beyond East India?
As Mr. Jaishankar just mentioned, I am even more cautious than him. So, I love Kolkata, as you know. I write it on my forehead, and we are just we have no market share, frankly, in Kolkata itself. So we've got a lot of scope here. It's very tough to go to new, absolutely virgin markets and establish yourself. The regulatory system in our country is a nightmare, and getting the lay of the land and trying to figure yourself out is very, very tough. So I'd rather stick to the knitting and do it in areas where we've developed some knowledge, some access, some goodwill. Otherwise, we can burn a lot of energy in just trying to find our way around rather than in building the projects.
I agree. We're also delighted we have two fun guys, Vipul and Irfan, and exciting to have the oil in the machine coming in from Vipul and Irfan. Vipul, if I can come to you first, two small questions. One is, how do you get these ideas, yaar? This plotted development, I remember when you had spoken with me and you said, as we're going to be doing this land aggregation. I mean, this was even pre-pandemic. The thought had come in, and we're going to hold this land, we're going to then make money on that one, and that then converted into plotted development, which suddenly is doing exceptionally well in that. So where do you get these thoughts from?
So I have this chip
which I have put, you didn't realize about 3 years back, I put it on your phone. I overhear all your conversations and all I do is I tell somebody to tell me what are the new things that Anuj is trying to do, and I kind of nothing else.
Vipul, be modest.
And all of us have been blaming Pegasus.
Anuj, you know the power of PE, guys. If they want to hit you below the belt, they can hit you.
Anuj is more of a general PE guy, not a real estate PE. He's a tech guy now. But no. I don't think. I think it's just. I think it's the leadership as far as the group is concerned, and it's feedback. It's feedback from everybody. Everybody here. I can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of our existing partners, and it's as Mr. Neotia has kind of put it again so many times. These things are, it's, 5 discussions. We bankers are expert, at least expert at picking up 7 conversations and make a 8th one as if it's my original one. So, that's what we do, and it's fine.
Yeah. And Vipul, my second question is that only, how do you pick up your partners? What is the criteria in picking up the partners? Because every time I see the partner that you funded, and I think to myself, if I had the money, I would have exactly put in with the same person. So, I mean, what is it? And, sometimes with some of the other guys, I wonder is how did they invest with this partner? So is it just gut feel? Is it experience? Is it relationship?
No, I think it is that a lot of our partners look at the institution and not necessarily what say I'm doing or what my team is doing. It is more a marriage of consistency, being part of the play, and whether I'm doing it or some other part of the group is doing it, or everybody looks at and relates to the brand, and I think that's a big factor, huge factor in choosing the right kind of people. The organization is almost 45 years old, doing all kinds of things and doing relatively okay so far. So I'm assuming that is going okay.
Anuj, you should ask the partner.
I will ask Mr. Ravi Agarwal.
I took maximum time to convince Mr. Notia.
No, he interviewed me for so long, bloody, before I could pass through to him. It was not, so I can tell you he has a formula, and that formula is not easy to get through to.
like Coke.
And
I think so. Vipul ji park hi nazar hai. He's having a park hi nazar. जैसे होता है ना एक ad है park hi nazar Nirma Super. That is the kind of nazar he has. He's having his own eyes.
No.
Nice.
Yes. He's saying that because it is called a backhanded compliment to himself.
And Vipul, my last one is there a thought to set up a sort of stress fund?
A what fund?
A stress asset fund.
No, I am so stressed, like I was having a discussion in the morning. They say that there are only stress projects that you can give debt to. All other projects need take equity. So I think any kind of debt which is in double digit is today what is called special situation. We have, as I said, we are very good at having names, but no, the idea is, stressed. What is required is capital for the good guys. Also for the people who are not stressed, what you need is growth capital. Forget, even construction finance is not available at the pace and at the volume that is required. So we are doing a fair bit of things. We are doing almost $3 billion of fundraise across schemes, which should all be done by end of this calendar year. So things
fantastic. And this Vipul is for the
stress is not one of them. Not one of them.
Okay. Is it for new themes or is it for existing themes?
All housing, new themes.
Nice. Look forward to that. Irfan, I'm going to come to you. What has SWAMI Fund done differently from funding done in the past?
I'll just, hi, good evening. I'll just refer back to what Vipul mentioned, right? stressed assets will get would have got funding at 20% plus in the scenario. And what makes us different is, one, we are a social impact fund. Two, a social impact fund of the scale and size that has never been seen before in the Indian domestic scenario. And finally, we are not looking at 20% returns. We are looking at 12% returns from the projects that we invest in. Most of those projects would not be able to get funding even at double that rate. So that's how SWAMI is different. But that's how SWAMI is different. But what is it that we've done differently? I think that's far more important. And one clear right? I mean, we've emphasized it over and over again in all our discussions is, this is the first fund that has a focus on construction only. We go to the extent of trying to maximize the labor density at the site. I might even stick my neck out and say that our sites have probably the highest labor density across construction sites for residential projects in the country. In the past, developers would often pace construction with the velocity of sales.
Correct.
Right? We are now working with developers where we tell the developers that the entire money to complete the project is available. Instead of working at one point, you can work at 5 points simultaneously across structures, and vertically also, do start the finishing work or whatever is possible on the lower floors while the upper floors are still being built. So that's how we are different, because the emphasis is on construction. And it's not just words, right? And it's not just, that money is available. We also tell them that you don't have to repay us anything while the construction is on. If you have collections and if you have sales, you can pump them back into construction. So that's how we, walk the talk when it comes to our construction focus. How we are also different is the fact that for the first time, a fund is putting down the money on the table and saying that is all that is required to complete the project. You are not dependent on the next financier. You are not waiting for the next customer to come in to complete the gap in your financing. We have all the money that is required to complete it. So we have almost no dependence on new sales. We have a very low dependence on collections in a project. And when we step in, we can very confidently say that we have what it takes to complete the project. And what it takes to complete the project is not just funding, and that's where we are different, right? We also believe that the money has to be spent well. The money has to be spent on the project, and these are certain obvious things which you would trust your partner, but we go by the trust but verify principle, right? So what we've done differently is we have a project management company which is located at the site. All expenses are first vetted by the submitted by the developer, vetted by the PMC company, and then members in my team will also check the expenses. And their ability to check the expenses comes from the fact that before entering a project, we do a very detailed technical due diligence as well. So there is a very clear cost estimation of how much will be spent on different components of the project, and we keep a track of expenditure incurred versus the cost that has been allocated to it very closely. So we act as pseudo CFOs, virtual CFOs for the project. So it's not just funding; it's ensuring how the funding is spent, right? So that's very important. It goes to the extent that we discourage advances. We try to work with reimbursement, so we reimburse expenditure, and therefore disbursements in our fund, like I'm always stating internally, will only be as fast as cement dries. It will not be faster. It is only as the structure goes up, as the structure is completed, that disbursements will happen. So that's how we are very different. We are also very.
Sorry, go ahead.
We are also very different in the sense that we are, a forward-looking fund. We do not look at, what has happened in the past. So, if sales is a criteria and poor sales is a criteria, then we would not be doing any deals, right? There would be no stress projects. So the fact that you haven't sold a single unit in the last 2-3 years is by itself not a disqualification. Similarly, the fact that the promoter has had, various historical encounters with the law, for example, is also not a disqualification, right?
Big thing.
Because that in itself is one of the key reasons why the project has got delayed and stalled, right? So we cannot cite that as a reason and then, just do nothing. Similarly, the fact that, there have been legal issues in the past, there have been tussles in the past, there have been complications in the past is not a criteria. What we try and see is going ahead. right? We are confident we can control the inflows and the outflows in the project. Will the project be able to, will the receivables and sales be enough to complete the project and take care of our return requirements, right? So will they be able to generate a 12% return on our investments? So that's again very important for us. And finally, I think very importantly here is the fact that we are not a project which is focused only on the large cities, Mumbai, Pune, Bangalore, and so on. There have been many funds. There are many funds which cater to their requirements. This is truly an all-India fund. Our mandate is to complete projects anywhere where RERA is applicable. And having a mandate is one thing, and having a performance track record is another thing. So we've given final approval to projects in 36 cities across India. That includes the 8 tier 1 cities and 28 tier 2 cities. So we are truly an all India fund in that sense. That's how we are different.
Outstanding. And, I must admit is, Vipul had organized a meeting with the ministry, a few years ago, and I had the privilege of attending it. At that time, Irfan, we were not sure how this fund is going to come in, how the impact is going to come, how tangible it is going to be, how is it going to be implemented, whether the home buyer sentiment is going to improve or not. I should compliment you, Irfan. We've had the privilege of seeing it firsthand. So it does, otherwise government, a lot of times announcements come in and you really wonder, where did that money go? What happened? In your case, we've genuinely seen the impact. We've genuinely seen the completion of it. It's very tangible. The home buyer sentiment has definitely improved with what you're coming. And
sorry, one very different thing which I would say as far as Irfan and team is concerned is that, as a fund manager, I can tell you what the expanse that he's talking about. The expanse is as difficult, if not more, than say the reason why Mr. Jaishankar and Mr. Napier don't want to move out of South and East India. Running funds, managing those risks, managing multiple partners is such a horrendous challenge, and it is complete hats off to Irfan and team that they are able to run that play. Because, like for example, even though we are a pan-India organization, running which is beyond 7 or 8 cities is not even in our 5-year plan. And he's talking about 36 cities. It's
very tough. Very tough.
So let me just add some numbers behind that performance, right? So I will not contest anything that you guys have just said. I will gracefully accept it. Thank you so much for the kind words. But I will also, add a little bit more so that, you get a chance to say even better things in the future. We have a 2-stage approval process. We first give a prelim approval based on, information readily available from the developer, desktop diligence, desktop forensic due diligence, whatever. And we get a prelim approval from our investment committee. We then do a intensive external due diligence. So we appoint 4 to 5 agencies to due diligence different aspects of the project, corporate, legal, forensic, title, and ESG, and so on. And then we give a final approval, right? So the scoreboard for us in cricketing terms, right, is we have given clearance to 87 projects, which will complete about 53,000 homes. We have given, and that's final clearance. We have given a prelim clearance to 142 projects. These will complete another 78,000 homes. So, sum total, we are looking at 1 lakh plus about 130,000 homes that we hope to complete. But that's a hope because, a lot of the prelim information does not stand the test of due diligence. So I will still pin the numbers on the final approvals we have where we are scheduled to complete 53,000 homes. Now, more importantly, I can also tell you that we have already completed 1,100 homes in 5 projects across the country. Not just that, we are now on the path, and hopefully with no further COVID-related delays, to complete about 10,000 homes by the end of this financial year. These current approvals that we have in place, we are in a position to generate a run rate of about 10,000 homes completed every year for the next 3 to 4 years. And that run rate can only improve because, as more and more projects get approved, that run rate will only improve. But currently we are at a point in time where we are online to complete about 10,000 homes every year.
If I might, one quick question.
Sure.
Is this 25,000 crores not spent?
So no, we have not spent the 25,000 crores. In fact, we'll take 6 to 7 years to spend it because, like I said, our spending will be linked to the pace of construction. So there are very large projects which will take 6 years to complete, and we have the money, sanctioned, but with us in our control to disburse as the project progresses. And Anuj, honestly, in our interaction with our sponsors, the government, it is not a question of 25,000 crores. They've made it very clear, abundantly clear at several points in time that as much as is needed to address the issue will be made available. So even 25,000 crores is not a constraint.
Super, yeah, great job, Irfan. All credit, as I said, is the consumer sentiment is definitely going up. With your congratulations to the government of India, and thanks to Vipul as well to have championed it at that time to bring this fund, and great job done by you and the.
Vipul is a friend and advisor, both
Mr.
to the fund
Santhanam,
as well as to
come
some
to
people
you.
in the fund.
I'm going to come to Mr. Santhanam, who's the CEO of Asia Pac and India. And Sir, Saint-Gobain has made this announcement that they're going to be investing 2,500 crores in greenfield and brownfield expansion in India. Was this announcement sort of pre-COVID? And if it was, does it continue to stay as committed?
Yeah, so firstly, thank you for inviting me, and it's very nice to see a lot of my customers here. So thank you, and you are making those 25,000 crores, 2,500 crores happen. So firstly, I think most of us see us as from the glass angle, but we are really a solid building materials company, be it glazing, be it gypsum, be it partitions, or be it the construction chemicals. We have a very wide portfolio. And in every one of them, we have a market leadership position, that all of you know that. But what we actually, during the pandemic, we accelerated our CapExes. Before the pandemic, we had some thoughts about the CapExes. But during the pandemic, sometime when as Mr. Jaishankar and Harsh and others talked about, we saw a rapid recovery. We realized that 2 or 3 years from now, we would be short on capacity on many of our businesses. And therefore, frankly, we accelerated our CapExes. So I talked about this 2,500 crores 6 months ago. If you ask me now, I think we probably would be, we'll do that 6 months ahead of schedule. Now, I think in our view, this pandemic is a short-term, serious short-term crisis. And I to some extent, I agree with what Harsh talked about. While there's a lot of V-shaped recovery, we have to admit that as of July and August, Indian GDP is 10% lower than what it was in 1920. So that's really the state of India. I think a large number of us who are in this panel, I think belong to strong companies and strong groups and very good management. And therefore we are the people who are being asked to talk about, and we are the ones who are representing the stock market as such. But I think there is a lot of hurt in the industry, and therefore, so my view is that the pandemic has changed dramatically many things. Firstly, consumers have become powerful. And I think today, and that is making a very big difference, thanks to RERA and thanks to consumers' understanding. You saw your survey. I think they're looking at reliability, they're looking at credibility, they're looking at responsiveness, and they want to make sure that the time is very crucial. I think Irfan talked about time and speed of construction as central to his funding. I think you see that consumers have really significantly shifted. The second one is, there's a very interesting shift. I think the well-off ones in India have actually done very well during the pandemic.
True.
40%, your survey says 40% of the people are talking about 3-bedroom apartments, and more than half of them are talking about 90 lakhs and above. So that's an extraordinary shift. We keep talking about units, 130,000 units, 400,000 units, but you see in value terms, the thing has gone up significantly. We have seen, we are a 6,500 group company. The number of requests that we are getting for people to buy homes has really gone up. So I have a feeling there is a certain part of the consumer are really looking for homes. And the fact that a large number of them have spent time at homes during the work from home period in the last, like for instance, 18 months, I've not moved out of my home, and only 20% of our employees are office going employees are working from the office. But despite all of that, people have recognized home is at the core of what we have to do. So essentially, the sizes are going up, the flexibility is required, people are integrating digital into it, and they're looking for more elegant solution. That's really where, and the builders are capitalizing on that. Almost every single builder here wants to differentiate, wants to innovate, come up with innovative products. And that's really where we see. So there's a very huge trend of innovation, differentiation, and size, which is happening, and the consumers have aspiration. The second trend, which so far people have not talked about, and I'm pretty much certain that there was some touch on ESG, there is a globally massive shift towards lean, light, sustainable construction. Gone are those massive columns and beams, massive plasters, other things. So today, for instance, people are looking for speed, light, fast construction, which can be done with very low skilled labor. Mechanization is of the order. So we are coming into this because in terms of sustainability, whether it's in the product ranges that we offer, whether it is in controlling the heat that is coming into the thing, or acoustic improvement, or lightweight partitions, we are seeing that more and more builders are looking for that. I know, for instance, what large 100-story residential complex in Mumbai saved 80,000 tons of material by going towards lightweight, instead of brick and mortar, looking at lightweight pre-mixed materials and plasters, very different, low weight, low embodied energy, window frames and other things. So what we are seeing is all of these trends are coming together. And I think what Mr. Jaishankar said is right. I believe, I believe that China is 30 times bigger than India. So you just have to simply say, if it is one, we sell, at the same time, China will be selling 30. So
interesting.
That is largely a very simple thing, that there is a massive wealth effect. And I think Jaishankar talked about it. Around $2,500, $3,000 per capita is where the wealth effect starts taking place. Now, when $2,500 becomes $5,000, it is not that you have double the number of units, you have 10x the number of units. So there is going to be a need for sustainable, lean, quick, efficient things. And building materials are really innovating. Regrettably, we don't have the same space that automotive industry has. But we, as a construction industry, employ probably the largest number of people of the category that are really needed to be employed. And we have made several advances in terms of the way we construct the buildings, the way it is designed, the look and the feel, the aesthetics, the acoustics comfort, the thermal comfort, all of that, but we don't have, we're not talking about the innovation that we're bringing in. Today, when I look at some of the buildings that we have in many of our modern cities, they are as good, if not better than anything that you find anywhere else in the world. So what I see is this differentiation, innovation, digital, speed, lean, sustainable, light construction is really making a big difference. That's really the reason why we're really betting on India. And we believe that there is massive opportunities, whether it's in facades, whether it's in ceilings, whether it's in partitions, whether it's in construction chemicals for adhesives, ready-mix mortars, or whether it's in glazed partitions in the bathrooms. I think there, and there isn't, thankfully, there isn't a company which spans all this sector like Saint-Gobain does. And that's why we are optimistic. And our recovery has been very, very rapid. Despite the fact that we have industry-leading position in many businesses between 40 and 60% market position, we have recovered very rapidly. And I think we're really looking forward future with a lot more hope. But we do recognize this pandemic has really impacted heavily. economy as a whole, Indian economy as a whole is only still at 10% below. We believe that it can come back very quickly. There could be a third wave, but we are ready for that. So I think that when you look at this, strong companies, strong construction, building companies, strong finance companies have a fantastic opportunity ahead.
Super. Great. But it's a very interesting point that you say, Mr. Santanam, is the ESG, because customer preferences has changed, and it will come. Perhaps we need a separate session for that, but it is absolutely appropriate, because we are also finding certainly the millennials who are coming in, they do want to know what the ESG policy of the company is, and certainly when they're going out to buy the asset, they want to understand, how that has been constructed.
Yeah.
I'm just in interest of time, Murli, I'm going to come to you. I have 3 questions to ask you, and you're like on the spot all the time. Tell me, is this festive season, which starts from next month, will be as good as what we saw last year? You're on mute.
I expect this festive season is going to be much bigger than last probably 5 years what we have seen. Already lots of projects have been lined up by large developers, including my friend Jai. So lots of new projects have been lined up. We have been tracking each other well, and so there has been quite a lot of projects. We also lined up good number of projects. I expect that this year will be the best year in real estate demand in the last 10 years.
My second question is, we discussed this when I met up with you, is that there's a lot of consolidation that is going on. Do you think that that consolidation phase has come to an end, or it is still an ongoing? And if it is ongoing, how long do you think it'll take further?
Yeah, consolidation is not an end, is my view. Probably 90% it has reached. Some more people, they all reconcile to the fact. Now Irfan is also helping them, showing them some life. So all that will get folded now. Maybe in the next 12 to 18 months time, consolidation will be over, is my view. Even some of the large players could fail. So maybe small percentage, maybe 2-3% could fail. But consolidation is in good shape today, which is helping the industry very, very well. So real estate, that's also one reason stock market is also started paying good price for the established players today, because they see the scale possibility at this point of time.
Murli, the stock market has been really booming, and many IPOs have been successfully launched in 2021. We have 2 very large listed players on the screen, Vicky Oberoi and Mr. Jaishankar of Brigade. What's your plan to hit the street?
We are, weighing this opportunity very, very carefully. Some certain things are very, very alarming. So in fact, I was, somebody just sent me a forward in the morning that Paytm DRHP, they are saying we expect to continue to incur net losses for the foreseeable future, and we may not achieve or maintain profitability at all in the future. So company is valued well. And they are also further saying, very interesting one. We cannot assure that you will never achieve or sustain profitability and may continue to incur significant losses going forward. Any failure based achieve or sustain profitability on a consistent basis could cause the value of our equity shares. So they are clearly saying that we will not make money in our future, but you pay so much value. So, and markets seem to be valuing. And unfortunately, I have not transacted in stock market. I don't have any equity other than equity in my own company. Hence, I do not know how this animal behaves. So it's little,
you need to take Mr. Jaishankar and Vicky out for a drink. They'll tell you how this animal behaves.
No, unfortunately, I did this with Jai, not with Vicky on this. Other things I discussed with Vicky, not with this part. But Jai and we found that we are on the same page. So hopefully, we are weighing the option now. Markets are looking good. We should be there soon.
And Murli, a lot of the Bangalore developers have come into Bombay, whether it's Prestige, whether it's Puravankara, whether it's RMZ or Embassy. Is there a thought that you have with Shriram Properties to enter Bombay?
Not at this point of time. As we speak, that we are targeting to do about 4 million square foot plus this year, which is 21-22. And the supply what we have today with which we could grow to about 5.5 to 7 million square foot in the following 2 years' time. This is only coming from our existing portfolio, which is Bangalore, Chennai, and partly from Calcutta. So now this consolidation phase, we would like to reach the considerable size today. Maybe whoever, in this 4 million square foot space, will look at reaching about 6 million square foot or 7 million square foot pre-sale value in the next 3 years' time. I think if we achieve that 7 million square feet space, I think we'll be good. As Harsh mentioned, every market has got its own challenges and opportunities also, of course, but challenges in Indian bureaucratic system is much higher compared to the opportunity. Whereas the opportunity, what is prevailing in our own markets, something phenomenal. And if we stay focused, whatever the number I said, these are all the projects which are all already, secured. And there are every day, SWAMI fund, there are about hundreds of people coming to organized developers like us from the, NBFCs or small developers are knocking at our doors. So naturally, there'll be some more expansion. If you stay focused on our own areas, we could reach comfortably 8 million square feet or 9 million square feet per year pre-sale. That's a potential, which is comfortably, we can do. So, in a match, you can play at your own pace and ease and still score 400, 500 runs for the day. I think you should be happy about it, is what I feel.
Nice, very nicely put. My last quick one, Murli, is that with the rising input cost, do you think that the margins are at a pressure, or you feel is that it can be passed on to the home buyers?
No, it cannot be passed on to home buyers, unfortunately. Margins are under pressure because of the increase in cost, but the consolidation should help the prices to go up. I expect the prices to go up in the near future, maybe in the next 12 months' time. At least to 15% is what I see. So that will take care of the cost increase is the hope. And we already started witnessing price increase in some of our projects. We increased some of our projects more than 10, 12%, and it has attracted some good results. So we expect the price increase to happen. That will take care.
Super, great. I'm going to move to our last panel, the dynamic Mr. Ravi Agarwal, toughest guy, lives in a market which is infested with crocodiles. And is surviving, is thriving. Actually, Mr. Raviji, if you would ask all the panelists on this, they won't mind coming into Bombay, or Bombay guys going into Bangalore. If you say you want to go to NCR, they'll be like, we're switching off this Zoom. We don't want to go into NCR. So I want to ask you two things that you practice in the business, which is keeping you strong. I know you have a very strong partner, Vipul. But two things that you practice in your business, which is keeping you very strong.
And first, I want to thank you so much for being a partner, such an extreme, well panel. I'm delighted to listen these kind of experienced persons. My experience got richer by listening them from last 1 hour. I've got the experience of last 10 years from listening from just 1 hour.
Nice, nice.
Two things. One thing I just want to say, we just address the needs of the people. We react to the market. What is the need of the people? We try to address in our projects. During the pandemic, a lot of things got changed. And every time, the 2 times we have got the pandemic, and new things emerges. I think so. By the pandemic, the style of living not just got changed, the way towards life got changed. The thinking about the life got changed. Now, I think so, we are more valuing the life. I think so at our class of people, we were earlier also valuing the life, but at a class where our customers are there. First, they were focusing on even the rented homes. They are somehow trying to manage that. But right now, I think so, their perspective towards life got changed. They are finding it, and on that line, we are marketing these lines from last 7 years. Apna ghar to apna hi hota hai. now I think so post-pandemic, the persons got realized, apna ghar to apna hi hota hai. I think so. I am on Hindi. This is Hindi lyrics on. I am able to convey this thing to all the panelists. The need changes.
Yes.
Continuously changing.
Yes.
And we are trying to address that need. First, because the first pandemic when happened, the lot of stories were there when the persons were living on the rent. Suppose there is some fever, just a fever to them. Their landlord was saying, take your security deposit back, and they are on the road. And the second pandemic, I think so much maturity was there, but the work from home culture developed. We have tried to address those needs of the customers. Presently, we are developing all those projects with the home office space. And along with that, because they were living on the rent and their budget was very limited. But due to the government, the home loan rates are so low and we are able to match their budget and their needs. And third one is, I think so, because of safety, health safety issues, a lot of things are happening. In the persons who were living on the floors, even in I think in Delhi, a lot of persons have visited Delhi. Delhi is a culture of low-rise development of floors, the koti living kind of thing. But there is an issue. They are not addressing the health issues because the gated community is not there. There's no health safety issues. And what we are doing in the project, we are giving gated community living, all the things with the complete health safety issues are getting addressed. We are giving the amenities to the customers. And even in recent projects, what we are doing, we are giving the office below their home.
And Raviji, what's the range of price that you operate in?
Currently, in these kind of houses where we are giving the low-rise development with the stalled parking and the home office itself, we are ranging around 60 to 90 lakhs kind of ticket.
And the lowest is how much that you sell at Signature Global?
In high-rise affordable housing, we are dealing in 22 to 25 lakhs of the 2-bedroom apartment, and
Wow.
And the low-rise development is 50 lakhs around.
And Raviji, you can make profit on that?
Surely, 1000%. That's why we are continuously increasing this business. And I just want to share one thing. The kind of phenomena, the customer response is so high. And the last year we did the historical, our last 5-year sales as a cumulative was just 1 year. And in next 1 year itself, we are going to double the sales of the last financial years.
And Raviji, your thoughts on going IPO?
I think so. We are now increasing our business, making this company grow. बहुत सिंपल भाषा में कहूँ, बाल विवाह नहीं करना है.
हाँ.
इस बच्चे को बड़े होने देते हैं थोड़ा सा.
But just for perspective, the revenue of the company at a 20% margin, the gross sales with at least 20% collected is 4,000 crores.
Yeah.
For one financial year.
Yes.
And you people, he's always very modest. He wouldn't say. If you wouldn't have said,
that's why I'm clarifying. I'm clarifying because I can see Vicky also. I can see Vicky also, but the point is, you know, and bulk of their sales are happening in this 30 to 50 lakh category.
Yeah.
And making profit.
In prime Gurgaon, and everything is in Gurgaon only.
Outstanding in there. And Raviji, last is that how you survived in that market? I mean, you have a lot of competitors in there who've not been able to survive that market. But you have continued to grow strength on strength.
First one, I think so. The support of SDFC-like institutions and the World Bank, that kind of support, and a lot of institution support, and that kind of corporate governance they have given to us, and the guidance they have given to us, It helped us a lot. Secondly, I think so on the delivery track record, when we are taking money from someone, we must have to deliver his home because he's paying money for his home. We have to address that thing. We are trying to even till now, and we have clear endeavor to deliver all the projects before time, and even our company got awarded many times by the Haryana government itself to deliver the projects before time. And second thing, I think so, we are doing the projects, we are giving the homes within their pocket, the budget which is within the pocket of the customer. And third one, I think so, the home loan rates were very good. A lot of home loans companies are supporting us at a very large level. Is a very good support kind of thing. And we are very much particular about delivery. We are never derailed from that fact. And the corporate governance, I think so, very much particular. And we are very much endeavor towards that.
And you've summarized it beautifully, Raviji. This session, clearly there's a lot of consolidation happening. There is good times ahead for the well-governed corporate developers. Fortunately, all the developers that we have on the screen run very tight, financially disciplined ships. Clearly, delivery continues to remain as a focus, which we've seen in the past as well. Fortunately, the demand has come back. And what it does look like is that this is the return of a structural demand coming back and not only a pent-up demand that is there. And Mr. Santhanam, you said fantastic points on ESG, which is going to remain very important. As the GDP of the country and as the per capita income grows, people are going to become more and more aware of their softer needs, and one will need to cater to those needs.